Yeah, so we were talking about annotations, right? Yesterday we were talking about annotations, and we saw there are few annotations, right? So first of all, we understood what is the requirement of annotation and what are all the benefits we want to get. Then we understood that any annotation which is having et character, which means that is an annotation in Java. There are few predefined annotations like uh, override, right? Override or it deprecated, right? It deprecated. So all the annotations will start always with it. Okay, and we know already that functional programming. This is something new with functional interface. This is something new with JDK 1.8. Okay, so and we also saw suppress warnings. So there are a few predefined annotations we discussed. There are two annotations we discussed, right? To write any annotation, it can be a predefined or custom annotations. There are two annotations are mandatory. What are all those? It
Target. Retention and target.
exactly. One is at retention, the another one is at target, right? So these two are very important. These two are very important. Then we wrote our own custom annotation. One, and while writing that we saw what marker annotation. So what is marker annotation? An annotation without any properties. An annotation without any properties, right? So while writing your annotation, you must specify target. So target means at what field we are going to keep this annotation. Is it going to be kept on top of a class, or on top of a method, on top of a field, right? Or on top of a constructor? There are around seven to eight types are allowed here, right? So all these are going to be useful, right? So if you specify a type means this annotation is going to be allowed on top of class. So whatever the custom annotation we wrote, that is allowed on top of class interface or a method or on top of a private field or public field, right? It's going to be a variable. But can we keep it author on top of constructor?
No.
Because we have not mentioned it.
Exactly. So as we didn't mention element type constructor, right? So we have constructor. We can't be able to use on top of constructor. If you try to keep on top of constructor, you will get a compilation error saying that this annotation is not be allowed here, something like that. Okay. And not only marker annotation, you can also define properties, right? Author version, and you can also assign some default value. So when you assign a default value, then that a variable becomes, or that a method becomes optional. So whenever you define author and version both are completely optional because we are assigning a default value. If you don't assign a default value, then the property becomes required field. The property becomes required field. So when you define an author, or when you define any annotation, so the properties which are mandatory, those has to be assigned, right? For example, yesterday we saw suppress warnings, right? Yesterday we saw suppress warnings, right? We saw suppress warnings, and it has a property string array value. So there is no default value. So whenever we use this annotation, you must provide a value, right? You must define some value to this value property, right? Without providing that, you cannot able to use this suppress warnings. But when it is coming to author, the all properties we made optional. All properties we made optional, so we can use author without giving any value also. So that is what we saw an example also. We used at author on top of class. Okay, we used author. Yeah, we used author on top of private field, on top of public method also. Public method also. But this is how we're going to use. This is how we're going to declare, and this is how we're going to use. But processing annotation is little complicated thing. Processing annotation is little complicated thing when in Java. So to process any annotation in Java, we will use Java Reflection API. Right? Yesterday I sent an email assignment. Not sure how many of you completed. There I asked you to create, right? So what was yesterday's assignment? For example, if we have something like this, public class A, okay, and if this class has a private constructor, can we able to create an object for this for this class A outside of this class, right? If I'm writing a public class main, if I wanted to create an object for class A, can I able to create an object for class A?
In reflection, we can do it.
Right? So we can't able to create. So to create any constructor, to create an object for class A, what we do use? We do use reflection API, right? We do use reflection API. So we can't able to create, if you try something like this, A equals to new operator, right? New A, then you will get a compilation error saying that A doesn't have a public constructor, right? So A doesn't have public constructor, then you will obviously get an error, compilation error, right? But still it is possible to create an object, right? Still it is possible to create an object for A, class A, using reflection API. So that is what is an assignment for, yesterday's assignment. Okay, and I also asked, yeah, this is what one assignment I give, right? So not only private constructor, you can still access private method also, right? Private void M1. So using, right? Using, if you wanted to access this M1 using an object, right? For example, let's remove this private for now. And okay, let's create an object. But if I'm trying to access A dot M1, you will get a compilation error because M1 is private. It cannot be accessed outside, right? M1 is private. It cannot be accessed outside. Yes. So not only this, you can also access any private fields, right? You can also access any private fields, right? Private string name. So any private field also can be accessed. But this is against to Java encapsulation, right? So this is against, right? So we're gonna lose the benefit of OOPS concept. What was it? Encapsulation. Right? So you can break encapsulation using Java reflection API. Using Java reflection API, we can do anything, right? There are the restrictions whatever we have in Java, right? Those can be reduced by using Java reflection API. The same way, to process annotations in Java, we do use reflection API. So when I say reflection API, right? So we can say class, method. Okay, actually, class is not under reflection API, but let's consider that as a reflection API. Okay, field. Right, we have constructor. Right? So like that, there are so many classes. So every constructor you write in a class is going to be an object of constructor class. Every field you define in a class is going to be an object of field. Every method you write in a Java class is an object of method, right? So this is how we can process the methods, fields, constructors. Okay, so not only this, we also have parameter class, right? Any method parameter. So every method parameter is going to be converted into an object of parameter in Java reflection. Okay, just if you have the class, right? If you just know any class, for example, yesterday's example, test1 dot class, then what you can do, you can play with the test1 class however you want, right? However you want, you can go and execute a private constructor, you go and access private field, you go and access private methods, right? So you can play with this test1 class, right? You can play with this test1 class. So anything is possible with respect to reflections in Java. Okay, so you can play with any kind of activity. Okay, so in Java, so whenever you know how to get a method, how to get a field, all these reflection APIs are already implemented a class called interface called annotation element, right? All these classes or already implemented an interface called annotation element. This interface has two methods. One is get annotation. If you know the annotation type, then you can specify that directly. If you don't know the annotations, you can get an array of annotations using get annotations method. And you can iterate and you can see which annotation you want to process, then you can process. So by using this get annotation, whatever the annotations we annotated, we used in this test1 class or test class, not only test or test1, any custom class, you can get that annotation object and you can directly access that, right? That is what is the example we were discussing yesterday. Test1, that's all, right? So here we have added the annotations. If you want to process test1 class, so this is a class, this is the class object. So it has a method get annotation. What annotation I want to get? Author, right? So we can know. Okay, we will get an annotation. If the test1 class doesn't have author annotation, you will get an exception. You will get an exception. Okay. If the class is annotated with author, then only you will get an object of this author annotation. Then you can directly access the properties which are present inside on that annotation. Okay. Similarly, you can get a particular method. Right? So by using Java reflection, this is how we do create an object. Okay, new class array. So for this class type, there is one object will be created by executing zero argument constructor. So we got an object of method, right? Method also implements what annotation implementation, right? Annotation element. So we can get an object of annotation which is present inside this, on top of this say hello method, and you can print the data. So similarly, you can also get field, right? You can also get a field. So as this is a private field on test1, name is a private field. You cannot access a private field. So first what you should do, you should change the accessibility, right? You must change the scope to private to public. What you should do, just the first get the field object and change the accessibility. So how you going to change? Set accessible true. So by default it is false, right? As it is a private field, by default it is the accessibility is false. So we have to change the accessibility to true. Then once you change the accessibility, you can get the annotation which is present on top of that field, and you can print the data. Okay. So this is how we usually process. Okay. See, all the details are printing. If you don't set the accessible true, what will happen? Is it public or private only, right? So still we can able to access the annotations which are present on top of private fields. Okay, the annotations which are present on top of private fields. Okay, so this is how we do get the annotations and we do operate it. For example, if test.1, right, test1.java doesn't have, let me delete this test.java and rename test1 to test. Okay. So if the class doesn't have at author annotation, right? If I remove at author annotation on top of this class, and we are trying to get the annotation, right? So this class doesn't have annotation, right? I just deleted author annotation from this test.java, and but still I'm trying to get what we got. We got a null pointer exception. Where we got the null pointer exception? Line number 18, right? So if the class doesn't have any annotation and we are still trying to get what get annotation method will return, it will return null. In case if it is not there, if the annotation is not there on that particular property, so we are accessing from class, then the annotation should present on class. For example, if you try to access from method, then that annotation should present at method level. If you are trying to access it from field, then you should I mean, that field must have that annotation. That field must have that annotation. So this is how we usually process. This is how we usually process. Okay. Let's see. Let's add one more place, right? Like now, author is getting added on top of class, field, method. Let's try to add this author on top of the constructor. Let's write one constructor and add on top of the constructor, and let's try to process. Okay, that's what we will try today. Am I fast? Am I fast going? Like, are you okay with my speed?
No, I'm good at.
Okay. What about others? It's okay, right?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody is trying to say something. Yeah. Any questions? Okay. So let's write the constructor. Okay. Inside this constructor, I'm going to add this out. Okay. Um. Test class constructor. Test class constructor. So if you am trying to add this author on top of this constructor, what will happen? You will get a compilation error. Why? Why we are getting a compilation error? Why this annotation is not allowing on top of the constructor? Because target, yeah, target is not type of constructor, right? Target not have the constructor. So let's add the constructor. Right? So after adding this, as soon as I save this file, I didn't save this file yet. If I save this file, the error which is present on test.java will be automatically resolved. See, it gone, right? Now the error is gone. So now we can add our annotation on top of a constructor also. Let's go to our process annotation. Process annotation. Let's get the object of constructor, right? Demo class. We created an object, right? Where it is. Not get method. Get constructor, and let's pass the parameters. As we don't have any parameters, that's why we are passing a empty object. Okay, if you have any parameters, then you have to pass those here. Okay, for example, string, then you have to pass the string here. If some, for example, integer, then you have to pass integer. Okay, yeah. So we are using zero argument constructor. That's why we are passing zero argument object. Okay, so now got the constructor object. Let's import. This is not present in java.lang package. This is present inside java.lang reflect, and this constructor is a type of what? Is a type of test class, right? This constructor is a type of test class. So let's use this constructor, right? So now I want to get the annotation which is present on top of the constructor. Then what method I should use? Get annotation. Get annotation. So from where we are getting this get annotation method? From where we are getting this get annotation method? This is, we are getting it from annotated element, right? Annotated element. So this is actually an annotated element method. So constructor is overriding that method. That's why we could able to call the tag inheritance, right? Author.class. Now you get an author, right? So yeah, let's go ahead and give some name, right? Let's go ahead and give some value for constructor author. So yeah. Author is Patna and the version is okay 1.0. Okay, so this is the value you can give, and you can just know who wrote that constructor. dot. You can just know that by doing sys out, right? So author dot get, sorry, author method directly, then send some space, then author dot version. Okay. If I run this code, I will come to know who wrote the constructor. Okay. So this is what, I mean, this is how we usually process the annotations. Okay. So it's a very, very rare scenario. In most of the projects, we don't write our custom annotations. We mostly we mostly go with the Spring annotations, predefined annotations. So where we will write a custom annotation, when you want to build a framework, right? For example, a custom framework for your project, right? So whenever you are trying to build a platform or a new framework, by that time you have to write your own annotations in Java. Okay, so yeah, so this is how we declare, right? This is how we do use, and this is how we do process, right? So this is how we declare, and this is how we do use it, right? And this is how we do process. So processing annotation is little complicated thing in the Java. Processing annotation is little complicated. You should know the reflection API, right? You should know the reflection API, and there are few interfaces you have to remember, and you have to remember get annotations method, right? So those things you have to remember. And if that annotation is not present on the top on that class, you will get a null. And on that annotation you are trying to call anything, you will get null point of exception. So whenever you are trying to process any annotation, make sure you check all the null checks properly, and just have an idea about reflection API also. Okay. So this is all about annotations. Any questions? Any questions till now?
No, Sunil.
Is it clear? Are you guys are able to follow me?
It is clear.
Yeah. So we will do just spend 5 minutes, like whatever we refreshed on core concepts, especially Java. So with this, we are done with the core concepts because our main intention is learning microservices, right? So to learn microservices, Java, Spring Boot are prerequisites. So that's why we focus more on Spring and Spring Boot, not on too much on Java, right? So I just want you to get refresh. Like I just want you to get refresh all the core concepts of Java. That's why I showed like variables, constructors, right? Flow, and new features in Java, interfaces changes in Java 1.8, right? So all those topics we just refreshed ourselves because maybe like all these concepts are useful whenever we are writing Spring and Spring Boot because Spring or Spring Boot and those are built on top of Java only, so they are not something new, right? Whatever is there in Java, those concepts are still present in Java, including Java reflection, variables, static flow, instance flow, main method execution, right? Every concept is going to be present in Java. And the Streams API, right? The Streams API, those concepts will be used in reactive programming, Spring reactive programming. So whatever we discussed, all the concepts are very, very useful. Okay. So when you get some time, just refresh your, I mean, refresh all your core Java concepts. Okay. Like predefined classes, object class, string class, all collection classes, right? I mean, I don't want to go in detail because if you go in detail into Java, then it will take it will take minimum 30 to 40 days, right? Then we can't complete our microservices time. But still, I want you guys to get refresh few concepts. That's why I focused over there. But I just recommend you to refresh all your core Java skills for one more time, right? Like we are going to get a long weekend, so just plan something. Yeah. So with this, we are done with the Java fundamentals, right? Like the basic, the very, very basic, uh, the prerequisite section of part one completed, right? So we are done with the Java basic. So from now onwards, we will every topic we're gonna discuss, we discuss in detail, right? I don't cover like very high level. As we know Java, that's why I cover at a very high level. But from now onwards, we will go every topic in detail. Okay. So yeah, from today we will learn a build tool called Maven. Right? There are so many build tools are available. So let me open the documentation. Okay, so we will discuss in detail about Maven. Okay, very in detail about Maven. So Maven is one of the build tool, right? So from now onwards, whatever the project we're gonna create, it's going to be a Maven project. It's a Maven or Maven. Okay? So it just call how you feel comfortable. Okay, so Maven project, every project, when we go and write any microservice or Spring Boot application, Spring application, right? Every time we do write a Maven project only. Okay, every time we do write a Maven project. So Maven is a build tool actually. In any real-time project, we use Maven. Without Maven or any other build tool, okay? Not only Maven, there are some other build tools also available in the market. Like so, the actually before Maven we used to have Ant, right? And now we have Gradle also, and we also have EV, right? So like that, there are multiple build modules are available, but Maven is Maven is one out of them, and this is most commonly used build tool in most of the companies. That's why we are focusing on that. Okay, so it's just one of the build tool. All the build tools will perform the same activity, but they do support different languages. Like Ant, we will write in XML. Maven, we will write in XML. Gradle, we will write in some script. Okay, Groovy script. Gradle will be written in Groovy script, right? So which way you feel comfortable, that one you can select. But most of the times you go with the Maven, and all are same. Ant, Maven, Gradle, EV, all are same. All these are build tools only. You can select any one out of them. Okay, so we choose Maven. Okay, we choose Maven. Yeah. So there are few benefits. Any questions?
Yeah, Sunil, I have one.
Yeah.
Like Maven, Ant, and Gradle. So in these three, so I have used Maven for dependency management. So
Mm.
I'm not aware of like what is like how Ant will do, and
Mm.
any different like what Gradle like how it behave differently with Maven.
Yeah. The comparisons, right? Yes. Ant is a very older version, right? It is not that much powerful like Gradle or Maven or EV. Maven, Gradle, and EV all three works in the same way. So if you are using Ant, the dependencies will not be managed. Okay, the dependencies will not be managed in the real-time project. What we will do, we don't write a one project, right? We will write multiple projects. So for example, we will let's assume that you are working on e-commerce site like Amazon.com or Flipkart.com, something like that, right? So we will have multiple modules in this e-commerce, right? Any e-commerce or any healthcare company. So we will have multiple modules, obviously. So what are all the modules we usually have in health e-commerce? What was the first thing? Shop, right? Next, order or cart, right? Or shipping, right? Like shipping, right? So like this, there are so many modules we will have. Billing, right? So like this, there are so many modules we will have, right? So, but one module will have dependency with some other module. For example, shipping needs to depend on, so shop needs to be maybe dependent on something like catalog. Right? Catalog means where you store all the products information, right? Shop needs to get the products from the catalog, right? Shop depends upon catalog. And whenever you do place an order, then you may depend on shipping, because you need to collect the shipping address of the customer, right? And whenever you go and work on cart module, again cart module depends on catalog module, right? Because you're going to add the products into the customer cart, right? So something like that, we will have internal dependency between these modules, right? So not only these, and whenever we want to work microservices, we do use a technology called Spring Boot, right? Spring Boot. So in Java, whenever you say Spring Boot, or some other technology. So what you will do, like you want to use Spring Boot in your application, what you will do, you simply add few jars, right? You simply
Yeah.
add few jars into your project class path, right? Into your project. So this is also same. Internal dependency means you do create a catalog jar and put it in shop module. You do create a catalog jar, put it in cart module. You do create a shipping jar, put it in order module. So that we will have like this. We will have so much dependency whenever we are working on the real time projects, right? So not only real time project, just after a few minutes, maybe like day after tomorrow, when we jump into Spring application, we will start keeping the Spring jars. For example, let's see this example. Okay, so this example, see these many jars, right? A simple. How many Java files are present in this application? Only one, right? Only one Java application. Even though we are writing only one Java application, but how many dependencies we are using? Internally, there are like 20 to 30 dependencies, right? There are 20 to 30 dependencies we are using, and most of the dependencies are Spring Boot, Spring Boot. Right? So most of the Spring jars we are using. Okay, so when you have these kind of dependency, right, so if you use and you need to manage those dependencies manually, right, and can't do this dependency management automatically. So you have to take those jars and put it in a folder and add the and script file. So for and script file is build.xml. Okay, for maven script file is form.xml. Okay. For Gradle, I don't remember. I think it's a build.gradle. Okay. So something like that. So every build tool will have its own configuration file. So this is actually a kind of roadmap. What exactly and has to do, or what exactly Maven has to do, we will define in a file. That file we call it as a configuration file. That is going to be changed from build tool to build tool. So when you use and you will write the configuration in build.xml. So if you use Maven, then you will write the configuration in POM, form.xml. But if you use Gradle, then you do write build.gradle. Okay, so something like that we will use configuration file. So even though we are having this configuration, all the dependencies has to be managed manually in Ant. Okay, but when it is coming to Maven, Maven has a very nice architecture to manage dependencies. Okay, so there is an algorithm called dependency resolution algorithm in Maven. We will look into that. Okay, we will look into that how Maven is going to resolve the dependencies. So by using that algorithm, Maven will automatically manage all the dependencies. You just mention the name, right? You just mention, okay, I want Spring Boot jar. What version? That's it. Spring Maven automatically download the jar and put it on your class path, right? And if is there any interrelated jar files are needed, those also will automatically manage. That is what is very important with respect to Spring Boot. Okay, see there are 20 to 30 jar files are present, right? 20 to 30 jar files are present on my Maven dependencies. If I go to form.xml file, but I still add only one dependency, right? Two dependencies I added, right? Only I just specified I need org Spring Boot and I need some jar file called starter. So you just specify one particular dependency, and if this dependency has some other dependencies internally, all those internal dependencies also will be downloaded and will be added into your project build path automatically. So the chances of getting class not found exception, no class def found error when we use Maven are very less. But if you use and you will end up with the no class not found exceptions for multiple times. Okay, so that is what is the problem with the ant. Okay, and that's why ant it's almost kind of retail in the market now. Nobody is using ant. Most of the times we do use Maven, Gradle, or Eevee, right? So but like some people feel comfortable using Gradle who has experience in Groovy, right? If you don't have any experience in Groovy, then you can use Maven because Maven is pretty easy. It's a simple XML configuration. You can easily understand it. XML is user friendly, right? User friendly uh, technology, so we can quickly learn. Whereas the Gradle is little. Uh, I mean, Groovy is a little time consuming process to learn. So that's why we most of the companies prefer using Maven instead of Gradle. But compared to Maven and Gradle, we'll have the same benefits. There is no difference. Which is just kind of which one you feel comfortable, then you go ahead and use. But we don't use Ant for sure, because we have challenges like one example is build path management. But Maven has so many features. Maven and Gradle, they have so many features, not like Ant. So Ant is kind of almost retired. Maven and Gradle are will be leading build tools in the market now, and unfortunately, all these build modules, right? Most of the build modules like Ant, Maven, Gradle, EV, all these are from which organization? We got all this from Apache, right? So all these technologies are from Apache. When Apache introduced Ant, and after some days they introduced Maven, after some days they introduced Gradle, right? So all these technologies are from Apache. So there is no difference between using Maven and Gradle. It is just how you feel comfortable. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Sunil, for clarifying.
Yeah. So yeah, let's jump into the concept. Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna use Maven. So what is the benefit you're gonna get if you use Maven? There are so many benefits. The most of the benefits are like like whenever you're developing an application, you do run your application from an IDE. But when we go for any dev in deployment, SIT deployment, production environment, right? When you go and deploy your application, you don't have any IDE, right? So you will do create a jar file or WAR file or EAR file, right? So you do create a jar file or EAR file. So what will happen? You have to generate a WAR file, EAR file, or jar file. So that process is going to be pretty easy if you use build tool, right? Any build tool. I'm not specific to Maven. You can use any build tool so that your build process is going to be pretty easy. Okay. And you're going to get a uniform build system, like how many number of times you run, right? So the process is going to be the same. So one time you configure, and it can be it can be used for how many number of times you want. Okay. And you can provide a quality project information, and the configuration, right? Better development practices means you do configure for one time, right? You just ask one person from your team, right? Hey, can you please focus on writing the Maven configuration, right? So he will spend like 1 or 2 days, right? And that can be used across all the developers, right? So like it's a one-time investment, and it can be used until unless we have the project alive. Okay. And there are so many benefits we're going to get using the build tools, right? Dependency management, plugin management. There are so many benefits. That is the reason why the world is using build tools on their projects. Okay. So I can tell you, like almost all, like 99% of the projects will have any build tools. Most of the projects. Okay. So without build tool, you can't develop any real-time project. Okay. Yeah. So with respect to Maven, so the Maven can be installed in two ways. Okay, two ways. One is a standalone installation, like how we are installing the Java, right? How we are installing the Java. You go and get a JDK executable file. Depends upon the operating system you do use. If you use Windows, then you download .exe file, right? If you use Linux, then you download some .sh. I don't know what is the extension for Mac, but the extension is not .exe, .api. SH is some like IDM or something. I don't remember exactly. So depends upon what operating system you are using. That corresponding executable file you download. Similarly, it is also same for Maven also, right? So there are multiple ways you can install. It's actually a zip file you can download, right? We no need to install the Maven. You just download the zip file and extract and start using it by keeping the Maven on the platform. Okay. Yeah, we do this in the yeah, it's this installation process almost kind of retired, right? Nobody is using, when nobody is installing Maven explicitly these days, because all the IDEs, right? All the IDEs, whether it is an Eclipse or IntelliJ IDE, right? So the most commonly used IDEs are Eclipse, IntelliJ IDE, right? Or or Spring Tool Suite, right? Any IDE now they are inbuilt with like map, right? So that's what is an embedded, right? Embedded version. So we are learning Eclipse. That's why I marked it as Eclipse embedded. But now all the IDs are having, right? All the IDs are having inbuilt Maven installed. So now that's the reason why these days we are not installing Maven explicitly. Okay. So Maven installation becomes standalone installation becomes almost optional. Even in the build servers also, right? Jenkins has a plugin, right? Jenkins also has a Maven plugin. If you just install that plugin, you don't need to install Maven explicitly. Okay. So now these days Maven installation become completely optional. So let's see, for example, in our IDE, whether the Maven is got installed or not. To verify the same on your um, IDE, right? So just go to Window Preferences, go to Window Preferences. Okay. Yeah. If you see Maven here, right? If you see Maven on Preferences, then you can think, okay, Maven got installed. Maven got installed. Or else let's go to Help, click on About Eclipse, click on About Eclipse, right? So it will show the list of plugins which are installed on the Eclipse. So there is something called M2, right? Eclipse.org M2E. If this plugin is, if you are able to see this icon, which means that the Maven is already embedded with your IDE. So here I am using Eclipse. That's why I can say, okay, Maven is already embedded with my IDE. I no need to install Maven separately. You know, on my machine I don't have Maven installed, but still I can play with the Maven project. But still I can play with the Maven project. I can create Maven project, right? I can run the Maven project, right? I can do whatever I wanted to do. But I didn't install any Maven on my system, just because these days all the Eclipse, right? At least like since 2 to 3 years, I can see this, right? Any latest versions, right? I'm using the very latest version 2020.03, but you just check your Eclipse whether you have this plugin is installed or not. If this plugin is installed, then you no need to install Maven explicitly. Maven installation completely optional, right? So this is how you can install the Maven. And then we go, I mean, if you are working on any Jenkins plugin, you just install Jenkins Maven plugin. So we no need to install Maven over there. Okay. So standalone installation becomes completely optional these days because all the IDs and all the build, right? CI/CD pipeline build tools are having Maven embedded. Okay. So this is what is very important when it is coming to um, Maven. Okay, so Maven, like any Maven project, right, will have a file, configuration file called pom.xml. Okay, pom.xml file. So when you create a Maven project in Eclipse, automatically Eclipse will create a pom.xml for you. When you create a Maven project using Eclipse, Eclipse will automatically create a pom.xml for you. Okay, so and all the Maven projects, right? All the Maven project pom.xml files will start with a root tag called project, right here, project. So this is the root tag, and we will provide some schema information. So our XML, whatever the pom.xml file we're gonna write, that going to be validated against these schemas. So we will learn what is this group ID, artifact ID, version. It's very important, right? Whenever you are creating the Maven project, group ID, artifact ID, version is very important. We will learn what is that group ID, artifact ID, version. Okay. So, but when you create any Maven project, pom.xml file is mandatory. Without pom.xml file, Maven can't do anything. It's like a route map for treasure hunt, right? So you can't hunt the treasure until you got the route map, right? So any old movies, right? Any old treasure hunting movies. So first they will focus first on what, route map, right? So first they will get the route map. Then based on that map, they will try to get the treasure, right? So they will try to hunt the treasure. So the same way, Maven, for Maven, pom.xml is a root map, right? So Maven will do any activity, right? So whatever we're going to configure in the pom.xml. So whatever you configure in the pom.xml file, that is what is Maven is going to do for your project. That is what your Maven is going to do that for your project. Okay. So let's create one simple project using Eclipse. Let me switch into a different workspace. Can you guys try with me parallelly? Hello?
Sh- uh, Sure, we'll try.
Yeah, just open your Eclipse. A few seconds, please. Just booting up. And meanwhile, you also boot up your Eclipse. Yeah. Okay, so my new Eclipse workspace created. Let's close this outline task list. Okay, not that much important. Yeah. So to create a new Maven project in Eclipse, I'm using Eclipse. If you are using STS, the process will be same. But if you use an IntelliJ IDE, okay, that is one of the, that is another tool, IntelliJ IDE, right? But this is a payable version, not like Eclipse. But few companies will use the IntelliJ IDE because this is most powerful tool to build the Java projects. Okay, so not only Java projects, it supports almost all the projects like Angular or any kind of Python project, right? We can still be using IntelliJ IDEs, but it is costly, right? So that's why most of the companies are still using Eclipse. Okay, some companies who are interested to pay money, they go and buy some license, but we have two editions: Community Edition, Enterprise Edition. Community Edition can be used for free of cost. Okay, but you can't get all the features whatever are present inside an Enterprise Edition. 1 second, guys. Yes, sorry, yes. I have to attend some important call. Yeah. Okay, let's come back. Let's create one Maven project from Eclipse. Okay. So click on File, go to New. Okay. If you are able to see Maven project directly here, it is fine. Okay. If you are able to see Maven project directly under New, it's okay. Otherwise, go to Other. If it is visible here, it's fine. If it is not visible, then click on Other. Okay. So type on filter section, type Maven. Okay, so that there will be three options will be visible. Okay, select Maven project. Select Maven project. Click next. Okay, click next. Yeah. So it will ask you where do you want to create the project. So we can say that okay, create in the default workspace. Right now, wherever my workspace is there, we can create it over there. Or if you want to create in a specific folder section, then uncheck this and go ahead and select where you want to be created. So I want to create in the same folder where my workspace is present. That's why I'm not. I'm going with the default option. Okay, I'm just clicking next. Okay, yeah, this is very, very, very important thing which we have to understand. Okay, arch type. What it is telling? Select an arch type, right? So what is this arch type? Any idea? What is the arch type on Maven?
Arctic style.
Mhm. So why we have to use the arch type? Okay, so arch type is nothing but what project you wanted to develop. Okay, arch type is nothing but what project you wanted to develop. Do you want to develop a React.js project, or do you want to develop a Spring Boot project? Okay, Spring Boot Docker project. In Spring Boot itself, they have so many arch types. Okay, so like this, if you want to select a struts project, or do you want to create a cloud native archetype, right? So there are so many archetypes are available. Okay, there are so many archetypes are available, but we want to create a simple Maven project, right? We want to create a simple Maven project. So let's go ahead and select simple archetype, right? org apache apache Maven. Okay, then you can see Maven archetype simple. Maven archetype simple. Very simple project we want to create. Okay, so even in the future also we will create simple one microservices also. We will simple is far enough. Okay, then click next. Click next. Very important, right? Whenever you gonna work on microservices, Spring Boot, you do follow the same approach whatever we are following now. Yeah, let's select simple. Click next. Click next. Yeah, this is also one more important step which we have to focus. Right now, I hope you understood what is archetype. Yeah, now it's time to understood. Right, three important things. One is group ID. Okay, next one is artifact ID. Next one is artifact ID, and the next one is version. Okay, so the first one is a group ID, artifact ID, and the next one is version. Okay, yeah. So these three are very important. Okay, whenever we are developing any Maven project. Okay, so even the dependencies also. Okay, even the dependencies also will be resolved. Okay, even the dependencies also will be resolved by using these three concepts: group ID, artifact ID, and version. Okay, we will be talking more about these three things. Okay, until we complete this Maven drive. Yeah. So group ID is nothing but your domain name, your company domain plus subdomain. Okay. So the best example is the Spring people. What is their group ID? org dot Spring Framework. What is their group ID? org framework, Spring Framework, right? So this is their group ID dot their subdomain. So if you going to work on a boot application, then your group ID is boot. If you're going to work on a Spring Data application, then data is a subdomain. So we're gonna work on the Spring Boot application. So the group ID is boot, right? We're gonna write microservices, right? So their subdomain is boot. So this is the best practice which we have in the world, right? So the same approach even you can implement in your group ID, right? So whenever you are writing any real-time project, so it's going to be your domain plus subdomain, domain plus subdomain. Okay, then the artifact ID, which is nothing but your project name. Artifact ID, which is nothing but project name. And if your project name is more than like multiple characters you have, right, like such a big name, then what is the approach you have to follow? You have to separate those with the hyphen. For example, if you are working on a logging application, right, and you are doing a simple Spring Boot logging application, then you have to do something like this, right? So the words has to be separated with hyphen, not camel case. Okay, and make sure you use all lowercase letters in the group ID, version, and artifact. Okay, So that is a recommendation. That is what is a recommendation, right? Spring -boot -log. So is a separator we have to use while you are defining artifact. So if you use underscore under, there is no error comes, but that is not the standard. Okay, the standard is using hyphens while defining your artifact ID and small in case letters and project name. So artifact ID is nothing but your name of the project, your name of the project. So what project you're going to develop, that is what is your artifact ID. And one more thing, we have to focus on the version. Okay, one more thing, we have to focus on the version. So versions can be two types. One is snapshot, okay, and another one is the release or GA, OLF, right? So GA. So what is snapshot and what is release? Any idea? What is snapshot? What is release?
Kind of
If it is
trial
in
version
production,
of
that will be released.
So snapshot is an intermittent like image, like maybe in between, like during the development phase.
Exactly. If any version has mocked with snapshot, which means it is under development. Okay, it is not recommended to use in your and as your dependency. Okay, so let's go to Spring. Right, you see snapshot, you see GA, right? You see snapshot, you see GA. So whenever you are using Spring, right, Spring Boot as your dependency, or whenever you are writing a Spring Boot application, you have to use the version which has GA, which means release. Okay, snapshot is which means this is under development still, right? This is still under development. Okay, so make sure you use release as dependencies. And whenever you are writing a development activity, right, whenever you are developing your project, your version going to be snapshot. And once you are done with the development, then your version will be changed to release. Once you change it to release, so it's kind of indication to the world, okay, this is I'm done with the development. I'm done with the development, and you are good to use. You are good to use my project in your dependency, and this is what is a production, which we gonna send it to production. So we mark some number, okay, maybe 1.0.1, okay, and hyphen snapshot or hyphen release. So if it is ending with hyphen snapshot, which means it is under development. If it is ending with hyphen release, that means it is under, I mean, development has done, right? The development has done. So you go ahead and use deploy it in the production, deploy it on the production. So if you wanted to enhance an existing version, right? If you wanted to enhance an existing version, then we will change the version number and we will create one more branch, right? We will create one more branch in our Git or somewhere, and we will mark it 1.0.2 as snapshot. Once you are done with these changes, right, you will release, you will change it to release, right? Yeah. So this is how we usually maintain the versions. This is how we usually maintain the versions in MAP. Okay, so these four concepts are very important whenever you are working with MAP. The first thing is an archetype, which indicates what project you're going to develop. Which the next one is group ID. So this is nothing but a domain and subdomain. Okay, and artifact ID is your project name. And if you have multiple words, then separate those with a hyphen and use all small letters. Okay, don't use like upper or lowercase. So use all the small letters. Okay, and versions, again, two categories: snapshot or release. Snapshot means which is under development, whereas the release means, yeah, it is. I mean, we are done with the development and we are not going to modify this version. Okay, if any modifications are required, we will change the version number and we will create one more snapshot. Okay, and once we are done with those changes, and that particular version will be moved to release. Okay, so this is how we usually manage the versions. Okay, and yeah, so let's create one simple Maven project. Right, so I wanna mark it as org as a com.maven.project. MSK. So domain is com.maven and subdomain is an MSK. And what is a Maven project name we can give? We can give it as sample, right? Sample Maven project. Sample Maven project. Any name you can give, which one you want to give. Any name you can give, which one you would like to prefer. Okay. Yeah. And yeah, version, let's give like 0.0.1 snapshot. Okay. And how you want to package this application. You want to package it into a jar file or AR file or WAR file. That's how you want to get a final output, right? So I want to get a final output as jar. You want to get a final output as jar, then click on finish. Okay, so Maven will take some time. It will download all the required libraries to create your Maven project, right? So I'm doing this for a couple of times. If you do it for first time, it will take a while, right? It will take a while to download all the required libraries. Depends upon your band, like network speed and all, right? So depends on your network speed. It consumes more time or less time. So if you already created few other Maven projects already, then it won't take much time. It will be like as quick as like I did, right? Yeah. So yeah. So the project got created. Now the project got created. Okay. Ignore about these folder structures, right? We will discuss each and every piece, right? Whatever you are seeing, every concept we will discuss. But now focus on the form.xml, right? So your Eclipse is going to create a default form.xml file, default form.xml file, and focus on this line number 3, right? So whether you create a form.xml Maven project in Chennai, right? In Chennai or in a village in India or a Silicon Valley in US. So all the form.xml files will always start with a root tag called for project. Okay, this is not going to be changed. This is not going to be changed. Okay. We will learn what is this build, what is this properties, dependencies. Okay, don't worry, but focus now on this, right? Group ID, artifact ID, version. So whatever the group ID we provided while creating Maven project, that will be coming here, and whatever the artifact ID we gave it, right? So that is what is your project name, and as well as will be mentioned in the artifact. Okay, and whatever the version we gave it there, that will be visible here. Okay, some name, which is the defaultly Maven project name, and some description, right? What is your project is gonna do. So this some URL, most probably we don't use this here. Okay. So, and it is see, it is also providing getting some configuration, right? What JDK version we are using 1.7 according to the configuration, which we are using JDK 1.7, and there is one default dependency, right? JUnit dependency is got added, and there are few plugins also, right? There are few plugins also are added to my pom.xml file, right? Who is generating all this code? Any case? Why we are seeing these many lines of code? We provided only this information, right? Group ID, artifact ID, and version. Then who is adding all these lines?
I think it is Maven.
That's Maven, but how
Plugin.
Maven is doing that?
Architect.
Exactly. Arch type, right? So which arch type you wanna use, the responsibility of arch type is generating this much code. Okay. So if you use arch type of Spring Boot, you can see like some other code, right? Some other content in your form.xml. So it depends upon what arch type you're gonna choose. That arch type will generate this entire snippet for you. So as we choose a simple Maven arch type, that's why we are saying this. If you go ahead and try a different arch type, you would say a different content. Okay, and simple arch type version by default taking JDK 1.7. Okay, JDK 1.7. But as we would like to go ahead with the JDK 1.8. Okay, anyway, you once you create a Spring Boot application, you automatically uh, having a default 1.8. Okay, default 1.8. So we no need to yeah, we no need to change this now. At least at this particular time, we can do the changes after some. Okay. Yeah, so this is how we do create Maven project. Okay, in the real time project. In the real time, even you're gonna do the same step in your company also. There is no change. Okay, and automatically Eclipse will create a form.xml file. Okay, and all the folder structure will be created. Okay, So this is what is a pom.xml file, right? So anything if you wanted to happen, right? For example, Maven wanted to create a jar file, or Maven wanted to download some dependency, right? So everything has to be configured inside this pom.xml file. So pom.xml file is a kind of root map to your Maven project. So without pom.xml file, Maven cannot do anything for your project. Okay, so this is all about pom.xml file and how we're going to create a Maven project. Any questions? If not, we will jump into the next slide. Any questions with respect to pom.xml file? Okay, so let's go to the next topic called dependencies. Okay, very important topic. Okay, so like Maven's strong zone, right? Maven manages the dependencies. So how they're gonna manage the dependencies? Okay, we will learn how to add the dependency and how these dependencies are going to be resolved. How these dependencies are going to be resolved. But before we jump into the dependencies, I would like to cover one more topic called repositories, right? Repositories. Yeah. So what is this repositories? Okay. So for example, you are adding some content, right? You are adding some content. I told you that whenever we create a Maven project, there are few required libraries will be downloaded, right? There are few required libraries will be downloaded. So from where they're gonna download? From where they're gonna download? And I said you, if you create for first time, it will take a while, and if you create for the second time, it will be little, pretty fast. Why? Right, why it is taking why it is the performance is getting improved when I go ahead and do it for the second time, why it is taking time for the first time, right? So all those things are just because of this repositories, right? As I already said, the required libraries will be downloaded, right? From where they downloaded, they will be downloaded from a repository. And how you gonna get a better performance for the second time, right? Why? How they are performing for the performing better for the second time? Because of your local repository. Okay, so it's very important to focus for a few minutes. Okay, yeah. So let's assume that we're gonna develop a project for IRCTC or something like that, right? Indian Railway System, right? We're gonna develop a project, right? So then we said, okay, I like we need 100 developers. Right? We need 100 developers to complete this project. So how many missions we will allocate? Minimum number of missions are how many? It can be a laptop or it can be a physical system. Like let's consider like how many number of missions are required minimum? 100, right? Obviously, every developer needs a separate mission, right? Two developers can't work on this, one mission, right? So every developer needs a mission. So we minimum required 100 missions. So let's assume that, so now the developer one came, right? So we have got a developer one and he started working on this project. Developer one started working on this project. And like developer two also started working on this project. Like that 100 developers are parallelly working on this, right? Parallelly working on. So, but project creation is going to be happen by only one person, right? We will create one project and we will ask all these 100 projects developers to use it, right? So that's the reason why we do use Git, right? We do use Git or some kind of SCM tool, right? So project management. We will we will create a base project structure. We will create a base project structure, and we will ask all the developers to download this base project structure into their locals. Now all the developers will start working on this base project, and once they are done with the development, they will push the code. And once we will have a build system, right? We will have a build system or build tool, build machine, where we will install Jenkins or some other technology where we're going to build our project. Mostly it is Jenkins. So what we will do, so we will take the download the code from this build tool, right? We will download the code from this build, which is Git, and we will build the project, and finally we will generate a jar file or AR file output. It's a final output. Let's assume that a jar file, right? Final jar. Okay. and we will put this jar in some repository, and we will download it from there, right? So we will have different environments, dev environment, SIT environment, production environment, right? So we will put the jar file over there and we will deploy that, right? So dev environment, SIT. So this is what is the architecture or orchestration we used to use in our real-time process, right? So we have an SCM tool called Git, or some other tool. Git is the most favorite these days, right? Most of the companies are using Git. So that's why I'm just saying Git. So we will have a single copy here. Every developer will take the local copy and push the code, right? So nothing related to Maven. So now let's relate Maven to this architecture, right? So when you are working on a particular project, right? For example, Spring Boot application, right? Your Spring Boot application needs like 50 jars or 60 jars, right? Your Spring Boot application needs 50 jars or 60 jars, right? You to work on this project, every developer needs to get all these 50 jars, right? Every developer needs to get all these 50 jars, right? Otherwise, they will get a compilation error. Otherwise, they will get a compilation error. So how we will ask them to get these 50 jars? How we will ask them to get these 50 jars, right? So that is what the place where we're going to use repositories, right? Repositories. So there are two types of repositories will present. One is the central repository and another one is a remote repository. Okay, let's first understand what is central repository and what is a remote repository. Then we will try to use one in our design. Okay, so central repository means which is a public repository, anybody can access. Okay, it's a public repository, anybody can access. For example, Apache, Maven, right? ORG Apache has a public Maven repository, and JBoss has a public Maven repository. I think it's a Nexus, right? Nexus. Okay, and uh, some of the companies use JFrog, right? So like that, there are so many. There are like that. There are so many. Um, like that, there are so many public repositories are available. Public repositories, but in companies we don't use these public repositories. Okay, in companies. One second, guys. One important call. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, guys. Yeah. Central repositories will not be used in the real-time project. Central repositories will not be used in the real-time project because we have some kind of security reasons, right? If you start using central repository in companies, so somebody will inject a jar with a virus, right? And that jar file will be downloaded into one developer machine, and all the developers will be in the intranet, right? So it will be spread. That virus will be spread from machine one to machine two. The entire systems will go down, right? So that is the reason why in the companies we don't use the central repositories. Then what we use? We use remote repository. Okay, remote repository. Can somebody say what is the difference between remote repository and central repository? Okay,
I think remote is like which is stored in the cloud, I guess.
central also most probably cloud only. Okay, the only difference, you know, instead of directly going and getting download the jars from the central repository, what we will do, we talk to this Maven, JBoss, Nexus, or JFrog. What we will do, we will buy some space. We will buy some space, and we will ask them to provide the security. I'm working on a company like some company called ABC. Then I will go ahead and ask. I will talk to this Maven people. It is pretty cheap. You don't need to worry how much it's gonna cost. It's pretty cheap, but security, right? Security is matter. So then I will ask, right, Nexus or JFrog, hey, I want some space, right? I want some space, and just allow me to. I mean that space is particularly for my company. That space is only for my company. I don't want other people, other companies, or no one should access that particular space, right? So JFrog will charge you very very minute. Okay, Okay, it's not too costly. It's very minute. Then they will provide you a specific space where our company alone can access that space, right? So that at least we will get some kind of security. At least we can get some kind of security, right? Which in terms of third-party libraries are our own libraries also. We will put our company code also over there, right? We will try to keep our company code also in the remote repository, so nobody should access that, right? If you expose your code, that's it, right? All it's gone, right? So we're not supposed to expose our code to any outside world. That's why we use remote repository. So remote repository is a layer of central repository with security, okay? But it is costly. I mean, it is not free of cost. They charge a bit. Still it is fine, they can, right? Security is matters, right? When it is coming to the projects and companies, security is matter, right? So, and the price is very minute, right? It's not a considerable price. That is the reason why all the companies will use remote repository, right? So whenever you are working on any project, for example, uh, what I will do for demo purpose, first I have to block my uh, security, otherwise my security won't allow to download the libraries. Okay, let me just disable the security for some time, for 1 hour. Yes, behavior schedule. Yes, yeah, yeah. So I just disabled a few security features. So now what I will do, I'll close my Eclipse. Yeah, so I'll go and delete few files from my local system. Okay, what is this .m2? We will discuss, but I will just delete few files. Org, Apache. Yes, Maven. Okay, I'll delete this file. I will delete this folder. So it has so many files internally. So yeah. So now when I start my Eclipse, just try to focus from where the libraries are getting downloaded. Okay, please be focused, guys. It will take a while, right? It will take a while to download whatever the jars we deleted, right? So as we are on, I mean, I'm not connected to any company, right? So we will be downloading the jars from where? Central repository, public repository, right? So when you pay the money, then only you can create a remote repository. So we're not gonna pay. So we will be using central repository, and by default it would be Apache Maven repository. So you just focus as soon as I click launch, okay? There are few jars will be downloaded automatically, but it's like a pretty fast. The jars will be downloaded in a pretty fast manner because my network will be like little fast, right? So you have to be little focused. Once the Eclipse is ready, Eclipse will automatically start, right? Yeah. Okay. Let me do one thing. Right click, Maven. Okay. Update project. Going to force update the dependencies. See this link, right? Report.maven, right? It's quickly going, right? Or report.maven2.org.apache. Would you able to see that? Right? Some data is getting downloaded into my system, right? I know it's pretty fast. Yeah, it's pretty fast. So, but all are getting downloaded from here, right? See report.maven.org.apache, right? So this is a public repository which I am using right now. Most probably it would be same for you also in your local system. Okay, so from here only, when I click on that links, the details are getting logged. At least we could able to see now, right? So from where we are downloading all the libraries, we are downloading the libraries from this link, right? So we are downloading the libraries from this link. So this is the central repository, which is public, which is free of cost. Anybody can access it, right? Can anybody access it? But the problem is it will not have any security, right? It will not have any security. So companies, we will not be able to see this. Companies you will not be able to see this, right? So you in your company you will have a different URL, right? Which you will have a different URL where you will configure, where you go and configure. Okay, so that is what is the remote repository. But other than this customization, right, other than this security, both will work in the same way. How the central repository is working, in the same way the remote repository also will work. So whenever you are working on any company, right, so you will not have a central repository. Then what you will have? You will have a remote repository, right? What you will have? Remote, right? Yeah, all these 60, all these 50 jars are 60 jars which are dependent, right? Which are dependent. So those will we will keep in the remote repository, and as these are Maven projects, Maven will download them from the remote repository. So every machine will try to connect this remote repository, and all these machines will try to download all these 50 jars into their local machine. Okay, all the 50 jars will be downloaded into their local machine. So now you understood what is central repository and what is remote repository. In companies we use remote repository. In your local machine you connected to central repository. Any questions with respect to central repository and remote repository? Any doubts?
For remote repository, like if I'm configuring, like so where I will configure?
Yeah, I will let you know where to configure in next few minutes. Okay, whenever I'm talking about settings.xml, I will let you know where do you wanna configure that. Yeah, it's a good question, but I will take a while to answer your question. Okay, but before that I want to let you know what is this local repository, right? So in this diagram I'm telling you. Yeah, any other question other than that? I will answer your question in a few minutes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. If no questions, then yeah, let's try to understand what is this local repository, right? Yeah, as I just now I said, right, every machine will download all these 50 jars because my project needs 50 jars, which I configured in the pom.xml file, So my my Maven will download all these 50 jars into local machine, right? So my local developer will have all the 50 jars in his local machine, and developer 2 also, developer 3 or developer 200 the developer also will have the same 50 jars downloaded into his local machine, right? So when the developer downloads those jars into his local machine, those jars will be stored in a repository called local repository. Okay, now tell me, in company, for example with respect to this project, right, this IRCT project which we want to develop right now, if we recruit 100 developers, right, how many remote repositories will present and how many local repositories will present? For example, I recruited 100 developers, right? We recruited 100 developers and we gave 100 machines, and all 100 developers have started working on this project. Now tell me, how many local repositories will present and how many remote repositories will present?
Under local repositories on the remote repository.
Exactly. Only one remote repository, right? And all these 100 developers will connect it to this one repository and download, right? Download the libraries into their local copy. That local copy storage, we are calling it as a local repository. Okay. So there is a default location. I hope you understood what is remote repository. Now we are going for local repository, right? Local repository, right? In Windows, not only in Windows, most of the operating systems, okay, in users folder in Windows it should be defaultly c users slash, okay, your user ID. This is going to be a dynamic thing. So user ID, okay, slash inside your user ID there is a default folder is created for Maven called .m2 and inside this there is one more folder created called repository, right? Repository. So this is what is the default local repository location. Okay, this is what is the default. So just go ahead and see user ID. What is the user ID? So my user ID is Sunil Kumar. That's why I'm seeing .m2 folder inside Sunil Kumar, right? So you go to see users. So yeah, Sunil Kumar. There is one .m2 then repository. So this is what is my local repository. So what is going to be changed in your machine? So instead of Sunil Kumar, what is your user ID name? which user you are, which user you are using to connect to that your machine. That is what is going to be your username, right? So that's why you mark this like dynamic. Then .m2 .repository. So this is the default. This is the default, right? This is default, but this can be changed. This can be changed. Okay, you can change it. How to change, we will discuss in next few minutes. Okay, but most of the times we don't focus on the customizing Maven. Whatever, you can ask me question like why it has to be pom.xml. Can I write a different name? Yes, you can write, there is no problem, but you need to do a little customization. What you have to do, you have to do a little customization. But what benefit you're gonna do, focus on customizing the Maven, right? What is the benefit you're gonna get if you change the pom.xml name to some other name? Project wise, no, right? It's a waste of time. That's why you go ahead and use default, mostly default things, but customization is allowed. Okay, customization is allowed. So any level customization you can do, right? It can be changing a pom.xml file name. Yes, you can do, there is no doubt at all. And if you want to change a local repository path, yes, you can do, there is no doubt at all. But most of the times we don't do because we focus on business instead of customization, because we're not going to get any benefit, right? Whether you store it in a .m2 repository folder or E drive, there is no benefit difference in a benefit wise. So that's why we don't focus most here. Okay. Yeah, so just check in your folder, right? You didn't create this .m2 folder and you didn't create this repository folder. Inside repositories there are so many files would have created, right? Inside repository there are so many files would have created. And we can also check how much space it is consuming, right? See, it will be consuming some GBs. For sure it will consume some GBs in space, not in MBs also. And as we're going to work on most of the microservices in the future, for sure your system also will consume for some space in your C drive, it's like in GBs. Okay, if you don't want to occupy some space in your C drive, then you can use E drive or some other drive. Okay, so it's still calculating it. I'm just canceling. Okay, you can customize this, right? I don't want to store my local repository in this particular folder. I want to be stored in some other folder. Yes, that is still possible, but you have to do some changes. Okay, you have to do some changes. We will discuss what are those changes. Okay, so every machine will have a local repository which is local to that particular mission, right? So now we understood there are totally three types of repositories. One is local repository, every developer is going to have. One is central repositories, which is publicly accessible with any security. So in companies we use remote repositories, right? We do use remote. But now it's time to answer the question, how to configure the remote repositories, right? How to configure the remote repository, right? There are two ways. One, you will say that, right? One, you're going to say. So as we already discussed, so what is a route map for our Maven project? How does Maven is going to know what has to done on your project? How it's going to be knowing? Yes, right? Pom.xml is a route map. Without pom.xml file, Maven can't do anything, right? Maven simply say, I don't see pom.xml, like that kind of error it will throw. Without pom.xml file, Maven can't do anything. So whatever you're going to configure, the same thing is Maven is going to do. So one place where you can configure your remote repositories is pom.xml, right? Yeah, in the pom.xml file, you can configure from here, right? Reporting plugins. So not this. Yeah, we will have a tag called repositories. Yeah, inside this, you can configure repositories. Right? So here you can specify what is the URL, of your remote repository, and if it expects any username password, you can provide there. Okay, but by default it use your missions Windows single sign-on mechanism, so it won't ask any authentication by default. Okay, so you just provide the URL. What is the URL of your remote repository? Okay, so then your Maven will be connecting to that remote repository and downloading the repositories from that repository. Okay, this is one place where we're gonna configure. But there are some challenges, right? For example, if you're gonna work on 100 projects, right? For example, you're working, your company having some like 100 or 200 projects, obviously, right? So how many number of form.xml files you will have? At least like one particular project, right? Like e-commerce project. How many number of modules you will have? Yeah, it's time to understand this concept, right? For example, you are working on e-commerce site, right? E-commerce site, and this e-commerce has like 20 modules. E-commerce has 20 modules. So how many number of Maven projects you create? Come on, guys. How many number of Maven projects you created?
Only one, I think.
No, 20 projects, right? 20 Maven projects. Each module is a Maven project. With respect to microservices especially. Okay, as we're gonna learn microservices, each module is a separate Maven project. Okay, there is no interdependency, right? Microservice is meant to be, it has to run individually. So you're gonna create a separate Maven project. So there are totally 20 Maven projects you will create, right? There are totally minimum 20. We obviously have more than 20 because we have some core module, util module, some blah blah blah. So obviously, we have minimum 20 Maven projects you want to create, right? 20 Maven projects for one e-commerce project, right? Yeah. So how many pom.xml file you have now?
20 form.
Obviously, 20 Maven projects, 20 pom.xml files. Yes. So how many times you configure your remote repository?
20 times.
Yes.
Remote repository can be one.
Repository one, but how many times you have to?
Configuring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
configuration. 20 times you have to configure because you have 20 pom.xml files, right? So like this, if you have multiple projects, right? Yeah, obviously we will have multiple projects, right? So you have to configure your remote repository configuration in pom.xml files like multiple times. For example, today we are taking a support of Nexus or JBoss, and tomorrow we want to move it to some other some other provider, service provider. Then how many times you have to modify, right? It's like minimum 20 times, right? Especially with respect to e-commerce, we have to modify 20 pom.xml files, right? Instead of configuring at project level, it is also possible to configure globally. It is also possible to configure globally. So when I said globally, which means particular mission, right? Which means a particular mission. So if you have 20 missions, then like 100 developers are working, 100 uh, setting, I mean 100 times globally how to configure. So how are you going to configure globally? That is by using settings.xml. Settings.xml is a globalized configuration for Maven project. Settings.xml is a globalized configuration for Maven, right? So we will write one settings.xml and we will put, so wherever mission you're going to use that, right? Wherever on which mission you're going to put that settings.xml. So it's going to be work for all the Maven projects which you are running on your mission. So sometimes you might see no repository in your pom.xml file, no repository configuration in your pom.xml file, but still you will connect it to a remote repository, right? So we don't use repository stat in your pom.xml file, but still you connect it to a remote repository. How it's going to happen? It's going to happen just because of your settings.xml file. Settings.xml file. So settings.xml file is such a big file, right? You can configure a lot. But if you want to connect it to a particular repository, see here is the place where I configure my Maven central repository, central.maven.org.maven2. So from here, all my libraries are getting downloaded, right? So if you just configure in one place and you want to get it applicable to all the Maven projects which you are using in your local, right? All the projects which you are using in your local, then do a global configuration using settings.xml. Okay, so settings.xml means it's a global configuration where if you just copy one settings.xml file in one machine, then it will work for all the Maven projects. If you are having 100 projects, 200 projects, no problem. The configuration can be done in one place. So let's go to last example. So we don't do a 20 times configuration, remote configuration in 20 projects. We do write a simple settings.xml file. Okay, we do write a simple settings.xml file, and the default location of simple the settings.xml file is .m2, right? The default location is .m2, but you don't need to keep it here. You can keep it anywhere. You can keep it anywhere. But you have to inform. You have to inform, saying that, hey, can you read the configuration from here, right? Not from .m2, right? That is the default. Default location is .m2. But as I said already, whenever we are working with a Maven, we mostly go with the default. We mostly go with the default. But yeah, no need to be the name settings.xml, right? It can be any other name also. If you want to configure, you can configure something like this, right? Global hyphen Maven config, like that also you can configure, no problem. Okay, but there is no benefit of modifying this file name, right? So you have to do extra configuration. That is an overburden, right? Today we are 100 developers are working, and if you change the Maven name settings.xml name to some other name, right, some other name, then you must instruct, right, hey, can you do the changes on your all machines, right? That is not required. That is, and we're not going to get an extra benefit also by changing the name. That is the reason why we mostly go with the default naming convention in Maven most of the times. Okay, so this is, here is the place we by default it kept. Okay, and if you wanted to change the local repository, it is also possible to change. It is also possible to change in your settings.xml file. Okay, for that you have to use a tag. I think I don't remember the tag exactly. Let's go and get it from Apache. Okay, sorry, settings.xml. Just type this in Google. You first get, right, maven.org Apache settings.xml configuration. Okay, so you can do a lot, right? You can do configure a lot, right? So you see, here is the tag, local repository, so the default local repository is C users, your user ID and .m2 repository. If you want to configure and you want to put it some other location, right? See, if I configure something like this, and my local repo slash, right, my local repo and close, right? Each and every XML tag should end with a close XML tag. Close this, then, and save this, right? It won't impact immediately, right? In my e repository it doesn't have, right? Right, my local repo is not yet created. So what you should do, you should instruct, right? You should instruct your Eclipse, right? Hey, can you reload the configuration from the settings? Can you reload the configuration from the settings, right? All the information with respect to my Maven, with respect to this workspace, will be configured using preferences, right? Window preferences, and go to Maven, right? Maven. So here is the complete information, right? So user settings. What is the default location? See users, right? My user ID .m2 settings, right? This is the default location. If you want to give a different location and different file name, still it is fine. Different location, different file name, still it is fine. You can specify, right? What is my local repository, right? As see, it is reading automatically. Yeah, it is reading automatically from that settings.xml file, and it is pointing to this my local repo, right? For example, if I go ahead and change it, right? If I remove this tag, see from where it's going to take it, window preferences, Maven, user settings, right? It is pointing to .m2 repository. So this is default. If you don't specify, this is default. If you want to customize, still you can customize. And when you click on update settings, for example, if I just add this back, right, close this window and reopen the window, see, and if I click update settings, apply, right, update settings, or else reindex, right? See, now let's go to E folder. One second. Window preferences, user settings. Yeah, indexing the local repository. Apply. E drive. I think some problem with this slash. Let me change it. Okay. Window preferences. Reindex. So Maven. One second. Let me just do Maven update project. See, now all the jars are re-downloading, and those will be stored in my local repo, right? See, the size will grow within next few minutes. The size will grow, right? So I'm going to stop this because it's not required, right? So let's go with the default. All these jars will be downloaded into this my local repo. Okay, so this is how we usually configure in a Windows preferences. And also I said, right, embedded, right, embedded. So just click on installations, right? So now these days every ID has this embedded, and which version of Maven we are using? 3.6.3. Default is 3.6.3. If you want to override this feature, right, if you don't want to use embedded and you want to use some customized workspace, customized version, then check this option and go ahead and add where your Maven is installed on your local. But most of the times these days we are not doing this because we are interested in using embedded Maven versions. Okay, so here is the place we are using embedded Maven, and here is the place where we go and configure global, right, global configuration of your user settings. Okay, and let me delete this. Okay, I don't want to use E drive. Right? Let the dependencies be there in C drive itself. No problem. Right. If I click update settings, yeah, see, my repository is automatically created. Apply and close. Apply and close. See, my repo. See, there are few jars are downloaded, right? So automatically these jars are downloaded. So, but anyway, we don't need it. But if you want to use a different drive, still it is fine. Go ahead and use the settings.xml file. I will share the settings.xml file with you. I just try this, changing the local repository into a different path. Okay, so this is all about local repositories and settings.xml file. And whatever we're gonna use, whatever we are doing this is for pure real-time project perspective, right? This is what it is going to happen in your company. You obviously have a local repository, right? Sometimes you write settings.xml, sometimes you don't write it. You duplicate the configuration in form.xml file. Okay, it is not suggestible, but still some companies use it. It's up to them, right? It's up to them. And most of the times we do use report repositories in companies, right? Are we guys are clear with the repository section?
Yes, sir.
One question to you.
Yeah.
You were saying that central repository is a public repository, which is like Maven or Java or something. So remote repository is again a Maven repository only, but it is kind of secured repository for a particular company, right?
Yes.
So why can't a company download all these jars from a central repository and keep their own remote repository instead of paying it to Maven or Java?
Yeah. So I don't directly answer your question. I say some example, then it's going to answer your question. Okay. These days the restaurant culture is growing a lot, right? Why can't we prepare a biryani in our home? Why we are going for a restaurant? Why we are paying like 200, 300 and bringing that? Just trying to answer in a different way. Okay.
Uh,
Because instead
we
of
don't want
focus,
to give headache.
yeah, it's the same thing, right? Who is going to take all that headache when those people can do for a minute cost, right? If you get a biryani for 150 rupees or 200 rupees, then instead of wasting like 2 or 3 hours of time and how much concentration you have to focus, and finally we don't know the output, we're going to get biryani or something else, right? Fried rice. Right? Yeah. So obviously the same way the company is also like, when the cost is very very minute, and when they have the complete orchestration ready, the environment is ready, it is good to pay, right? And if you start building your own repository, the cost may increase also. The space, the servers, right? The security tickets, right? Recruiting the experts to build the repositories. It obviously costs more than buying a space from those people. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. so most of the times we buy the space in most of the companies, like other than this, the companies, jade companies like Google, right? It's like Google or Microsoft. Those are the people who are the providers, right? They have their own repositories. Yeah, when you go and work on any company like Google or Microsoft, yeah, you might see your own repository, because yeah, for them it's like they don't want to buy any space, right? They want to build their own. But the companies like who are not into the IT market, right? For example, any telecom company or any healthcare company, right? They don't want to focus on the IT, right? They want to focus on their business. So that's why they go and buy it, right? They don't waste time on this orchestration. But any IT native company, right? Google, Facebook, or any Microsoft, Apple, these companies might have, but most of the companies they don't have, because their focus is not IT, right? Their focus is their business.
Yes, Anil, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I said yeah. Thank you, Vijay. Yeah, ask any kind of question, right? Yeah, it is really good. It is really very good to ask the questions, because maybe few of the topics I may not cover. Example, whatever the question which you asked, right? I didn't answer why companies are interested in remote and repositories instead of central, building their own repositories, or something else, right? Because yeah, I may not cover few things. Yeah, those should be answered by asking questions. So I recommend all you to ask the questions. It can be any kind of question. Okay, don't hesitate, right? Ask any kind of question. Yes. Okay. I'll try to answer. If you can't, I mean, I'm not able to make you understand, then I will think in explaining in a different way. Okay. Like a real time example, right? Like instead of we are preparing biryani, we go to portal. This is a simple example why the companies are preparing the remote repositories. Yeah. Okay,
Hi, Sunil.
guys. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so any assignment for today, and I want to ask you like more assignments would be better.
Yeah, whatever we have practiced today, try to practice the same thing, right? Just try to create a local repository and just try to play with this. Okay. Yeah, maybe like for Maven, I don't have, because we are learning the basics, right? Once I covered all these basics, then only I can give an assignment without completing, for example, the dependencies section, right? So how these dependencies we're going to add, right? How these dependencies are going to be resolved. So there are a few topics which I wanted to tell you. Then after covering all this, yeah, we have an assignments in Maven for sure, right? Especially you will create like parent projects, right? You will create your own parent project, and you write some configuration. Yeah, we have an assignment, but not for today. You just do whatever we discussed on today's, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah, this section will take more time. Yeah, we are already running out of time, right? Like 9:40, 6:10. Yeah, we will continue the remaining concepts tomorrow. Okay, but make sure you attend this Maven training. It's very 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 important, right? Like after, like tomorrow, from day after tomorrow onwards, any project which I'm going to create, it's a Maven project. Okay, any project which I'm going to create, it's a Maven project. So you must know in and out of the Maven project. Like even whatever I'm going to cover, it's not like 100%, right? I will be covering like 40-50%, which is very common in the project development point of view and the real time point of view. But there are so many topics are there. There are so many topics are there, but our intention is like understanding whatever which is required and most commonly used in all the projects. Okay, most commonly used in all the projects. But on top of that, if you want to build some more knowledge on Maven, I recommend you to go through this documentation, right? Maven documentation. So you just go through this, yeah, documentation, right? Yeah, it's like a kind of um, master, right? So it's from Maven from Apache. So how we have Maven, similarly we also have and Gradle, right? So they have so many projects. So Maven is just one out of them, right? See, these people have these many projects. Where is it? See, MAB. Yeah, here we have Maven, right? So we have somewhere here we have and. So Gradle G, right? So oh, we don't have Gradle under G, but it should be part of here. I don't know why they are not defining it. Maybe Gradle from some other organization or what. Let me check. I thought it's from Maven. Oh, Gradle, it's different. It's not part of Maven, right? But they built using this Groovy. Okay, Maven built on top of Groovy only. So, but anyway, yeah, Maven, it's not from Apache. It's some other third party. Okay, yeah. Thank you, guys. Any questions before we wind up? Yeah. Thank you, Vijay. Thank you, team. I hope you are able to follow me. Okay. Yeah. So tomorrow is a Friday, but still we will connect on same time. Okay. You can check your emails. You can check your